Rescue Wop. Save the dinosaurs from an island that's about to explode. What could go wrong?
To Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
And Dave.
And here we are back this week to discuss minute 15 of Fallen Kingdom. Before we get to that, David, heading over to Jurassic-Pedia.com, we've got a brief little write-up here on Sanctuary Island that we get revealed this minute. Still, now that Dominion's come out, we still know very little about Sanctuary Island, whether it even existed or not, whether it was just something Mills concocted to string Lockwood along. Sadly, we just don't know still to this date.
I kind of like the idea that it's just something that he was kind of making up. Just because, I mean, it's a lot cheaper to make up an island than it is to actually buy an island.
Well, he made the model and just, showed Benjamin, here it is, I've purchased an island. Not knowing it was literally he purchased this fiberglass island in front of him and not a real one, and then spent the real money on other things that we're going to see later on in the film. But we're going to talk a little bit more about Sanctuary Island as we get into the minute. So if that's all, Dave, for this article and many more, head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com.
Let me give you a bit of history. This is where it all began. Before the island, Sorna, Jurassic Park, all of it. Hammond and Lockwood built a custom lab in the sub-basement, extracted the first DNA from amber right beneath our feet.
Alright, Dave, we're going to get to minute 15.
I am.
Alright, minute 15 of Fallen Kingdom opens with the reveal of Sanctuary Island and ends with Ben Lockwood activating Old Man Story Mode. As we continue into minute 15, Mills has asked Claire for a favour, something for an old friend, and as they continue walking through the main hall, we can see Sanctuary Island appear on a large table display. This whole lobby, foyer, library area with all its displays and models, see all skeletons and dioramas, and now we have this fiberglass island in the middle of the hall.
I will say, a big fan of the museum.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just some of the behind the scenes shots of this set is just absolutely fantastic.
It is, and there was a full set. Like they spent a lot of money on practical effects and sets and stuff like that on this movie, which all look very, very good.
Yep, and I'll post some of them up to the socials this week. Mills continues, we have a piece of land, a sanctuary, protected by natural barriers, fully self-sustained, and a new home where the dinosaurs will be secure and free. So it's pretty much Sauna V2.
Well, I do recall the DPG saying that they couldn't use Sorna because of international relations kind of preventing anything from being added or taken off the island, which, of course, we know Masrani completely ignored or bought off people to ignore, you know?
Well, yeah, we're going to get to that in a little bit too, where they say Blue's the last Velociraptor in the world too. So... unfortunately, just creating stuff for this film and then it having to be changed for the next film. But I do have to question the self-sustaining part of it. Even rewatching Dominion last night, just the fact that they're repopulating their sanctuary with deer for the carnivores just doesn't seem like it's a sustained way to feed the carnivores. But.
Well, presumably that's so they don't eat the herbivores.
Well, they can try, but you're not going to stop the T-Rex and the Giganotosaurus from finally going at each other like they do. But we do get a lot of time zooming in on this model. Claire realises the plan. You're going to get them out. You're going to save them. And from off screen, we can hear Benjamin Lockwood, "No, Mister, we're going to save us." We turn to see Ben rolling up in his wheelchair. He smiles and holds out his hand. We could both use a touch of redemption, couldn't we? So obviously he knows that she's involved in the Jurassic World incident.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really know what his redemption is. We get a little bit of a backstory in these next couple of minutes about him and John, but It's still, again, to this date, another mystery of what actually drove them apart. We suspected it was the human cloning aspect, but Maisie was created well after Hammond was dead, so we can talk about that. Oh,
yeah, we'll talk about that.
yeah. After the pleasantries, his wheels his wheelchair around display, and we get a first little monologue from him. This was all John Hammond dreamt. Oh, this was all John Hammond's dream. Let these creatures live in peace. So we have created a sanctuary. No fences, no cages, no tourists. Just Mother Nature, just as Mother Nature intended. Which a little bit of a callback to Hammond's speech at the end of the Lost World.
Which does also kind of beg the question about Masrani's how truthful Masrani was being about the whole Hammond's dying wish comment that he makes in Jurassic World, because Lockwood seems to still imply that Hammond's wish in the end was for these animals to live peacefully and not be part of basically a tourist attraction.
Yeah, it's sort of, again, it raises the questions. Well, when did Lockwood last hear that from Hammond? Did he hear it from himself before his death, before the incident at the Lost World, or is he just recounting what Hammond said on the TV because he hadn't seen the man before his death or something like that?
Well, I do kind of imagine that part of them being estranged from each other means that they never really met before Hammond died, And
we do have to touch on the novel side of things a little bit too. The whole Jurassic Park side of things only come about to pay for the cloning, whereas it seemed in Jurassic Park it was the cloning first. We're bringing these dinosaurs to life, and maybe should be free, but we need to recoup some of our costs as well. So let's theme park it up. Very few guests on the ground, the fences and everything. Nothing along the lines of what Jurassic World turned into, but
even then it seemed that in the movie that the dinosaurs were explicitly just for the theme park at first, and that Hammond's whole thing was creating this basically Disney World with dinosaurs for his guests,
And the show not freedom thing sort of goes through the entire saga. Jurassic Park, the Lost World, it's still these assets are on the island. The only reason they exist is because we made them, and we're going to put them in the amphitheatre. Jurassic Park 3, Grant saying what InGen done was make monsters for the park, nothing more, nothing less. And it kept on going all the way up to Dominion, where you've got dinosaurs fighting in the amber market and stuff like that. Still, just their sole purpose is to entertain humans, really.
That's kind of what people do at the same time, though, is they think things just exist on this planet for their amusement. And now I'm kind of sounding like Malcolm, I guess. That whole kind of cynical towards humanity edge.
Yeah, but just sort of back on Sanctuary Island a little bit. It's we don't get any location. We don't know if it's Costa Rica. We don't know where it is. We know it's going to be within sailing distance for the Arcadia. Well, that's what the plan originally was anyway, but no, it's just something created. We know at the time they wanted to get away from the islands. Funny thing, last night while we were watching Dominion, the wife watched as well. She's nowhere near as fan of the franchise as what I am. But even she commented they moved off the islands just to be on another island or secluded area, so I'm glad I wasn't the only one to see that. But the whole reason of getting away from the islands, when really we didn't really have to. But anyway, Lockwood continues. John said it best. These creatures don't need our protection. They need our absence. Missing a few lines from the actual line read on the TV. The TV that Hammond done. Claire notices a shadow on the high balcony, but looks back as Lockwood continues. And as the minute ends, he continues to recount his life with John Hammond. When we were young, we both shared this passion, John and I, and we're going to get more of that in the next minute. So I don't really think there's much more to add to that. Briefly looking over at novel comparisons, we get a bit better depiction of Sanctuary in the novels. Mills gestures toward an elaborate model of a mountainous jungle by the sea. Plastic dinosaurs are walking down the ramp of a ship, 2 by 2. Other dinosaurs stomped across the rolling green hills. So a lot more extravagant diorama than what we get here.
Well, the whole kind of sanctuary island thing is a bit of an odd look because it's basically this large kind of Neverland style bay here between the island that kind of is closed off at one end by a large rock, which kind of begs the question, is that supposed to be freshwater or seawater? Because it looks like it's supposed to be part of the ocean. But then on the other end, you had these large cliffs. And then you also have to ask, how to scale is this? Like, is this, like, are those mountains thousands of feet high, 1,000 feet high? Are they just hills? How big is this island, essentially?
Exactly. And if you are hoping to get all the animals off Nublar, it's got to be at least Nublar size.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes back to the whole self-sustaining thing again. You've got this massive lagoon that, it obviously is all seawater, salt water. There's no visual streams, rivers, anything that coming down out of the mountains. Yes, there's probably springs and that little thing too, but I couldn't imagine a patasaur lumbering up the mountain just to drink water from a spring.
Yeah.
There'd still have to be some type of human infrastructure on the island.
It would be interesting if, in the hypothetical, if this island did exist, they had that whole radio network where they were basically surveilling the animals through a series of cameras, kind of like in the Lost World novel.
Mm-hmm. It still makes me wonder if something like that was set up on Sauna, and that's how they know, or how they recorded that the Spinosaur was destroying the ecosystem, or that or other stuff that was put online post this film. Obviously, there'd have to be researchers on island learning all this sort of stuff. I know they just said it for the film, but again, going off the novel, we know there was cameras and that on Sauna. We know from the Lost World there was cameras on Sauna, so just little things like that I'd love to get an explanation from. We get some extra dialogue on his explanation of the island. Our environmental scientists say the climate will support all species currently on Nublar. So it might not even be the equator, it might be further north or south where it does get cold as well.
Mm-hmm.
As Lockwood rolls up in his wheelchair, Claire notices the way he's slumped in his chair and he doesn't look in good health. I wonder if, I haven't read ahead, but I wonder if he just dies later in the film and isn't actually smothered by Mills. It'll be interesting to see what happens there when we get later in the film. The two Hammond monologues aren't in this section of the novel, so I wonder if they'll just added last minute to tie the series together a bit more, or if it's going to be later in the novel, but it's not at this point. So that's it for minute 15. Dave, how about we get out of here for the week? And we're back next week with minute 16.
Sounds good.